bridesmaids, runners-up, also rans, nearly men, first losers. You catch my drift. Clubs that have come close to securing major honours but fallen just short. There are many examples of clubs that got within touching distance but couldn't quite get over the line. But last season, Bayer Leverkusen showed us that you could miss out numerous times and still become victorious eventually. So in this video, we're going to look at FM24 save ideas with clubs who know the pain of being runners-up all too well. So here's the inspiration for today's video. Bayer Leverkusen, as they were referred to, 5 times runners-up in the Bundesliga, but finally, last season, their invincible domestic season meant that not only did they win a second Pokal, but they were also Bundesliga champions for the first time. So we thought, why not find some other clubs that have always been bridesmaids that you could take charge of in FM24 and try and steer them to glory. And we start with Pine Villa FC, who were founded in 1895, but they changed their name to the more familiar Oldham Athletic 4 years later. They joined the Football League in 1907 and made it to the First Division by 1911, but it was that 1914-15 season that was oh so close to being glorious for them. Over a 38-game season, they finished second, missing out on the title by just one solitary point to an Everton side that lifted the trophy. No doubt the Latic supporters were looking forward to building on that season and watching their team grab the trophy within a season or two. But alas, it was not to be. The outbreak of the First World War led to the suspension of professional football in England, and by the time the league resumed in 1919, Oldham Athletic were not the force that they were. And after a few seasons of struggle, they were relegated in 1923, and that was their top-flight career done for 68 years. Oldham legend Joe Royle was the catalyst for their next foray into the First Division. The former Everton, Manchester City and England striker was appointed as Oldham manager in 1982, his first appointment. The Royal years started promisingly, if not spectacular, with several strong placings in the English second tier, but things started to speed up in 1987 when Oldham came third, narrowly losing out in the playoffs, and in 1990 they reached the League Cup final. Sadly, they lost that final 1-0 to Nottingham Forest, but in 1991 they did make it back to the top flight, and in 1992 they became inaugural members of the Premier League, despite reaching the FA Cup semi-final in 1994 where they lost out to local rivals Manchester United following a replay. The Latics struggled in the league and were relegated at the end of the 1993-94 season. Joe Royle left to take over at Everton soon after, and managers since have struggled to rekindle that royal magic. And in 2022, Oldham became the first club to have appeared in the Premier League to be relegated out of the Football League as they slipped into the Conference National. And this is where they remain, their dream of winning the title seemingly further away than ever. But could you be the new Joe Royle, dragging this team from non-league football all the way back to the top flight and going one step further than they managed in that 1914-15 season? Yes, this is going to be a long journey, but it's one that could end in glory. And if the sound of managing clubs who've yet to win a trophy sounds appealing, check out my new Twitch save, which is a journeyman through English football where we're only allowed to manage clubs who've never won a trophy. MSV Duisburg may sound like the name of a cruise liner, but in actual fact they are the second of our also-ran clubs that you could take charge of in FM24. This club play in the third tier of German football at the start of FM24, but they were once a big fish, well, big-ish anyway. Invited to be part of the inaugural Bundesliga season to represent the Lower Rhine region, the first thing the board did was to sack their manager and bring in a young Rudi Gutendorf. This decision was seemingly vindicated when they finished second in the Bundesliga at the first attempt. The Zebras, as they are nicknamed, stayed in the Bundesliga until 1982, and in fact across their history they've reached 4 Pokal finals. But unfortunately they've lost each of them, with the most recent in 2011 being a humiliating 5-0 final defeat against Schalke 04. Since Bundesliga relegation they have become the archetypal yo-yo club, but if you were to take charge of them in FM24, you'd be joining them at one of the lowest points in their history. Their 5 seasons in the third tier since 2019 culminated in a real-life relegation to the 4th tier at the end of the 2023-24 season. So if you take over at MSV, your first job is to prevent them slipping out of the playable leagues in Football Manager before building a squad capable of returning to the Bundesliga. But once you're there, you can try and win them that trophy for the first time in their history, and who knows, maybe a pokal or two along the way. But if you fancy a bridesmaid in France, maybe Nîmes Olympique could be the club for you. This is a club that have metaphorically been on the medal podium a number of times without ever winning a gold medal. It's silvers that have been their speciality, and they've won 7 of them in total. Formed in 1937, they reached the French top flight in 1950, and by 1958, they had achieved the first of their second place finishes in the league. 2 more runners-up spots followed immediately after, and a 4th was secured in 1972, and they've also been to 3 French Cup finals, losing on every single occasion, the most recent being in 1996. That last defeat may have been the least painful since the club were in the 3rd tier of French football at the time. Indeed, the team and their losers' medals were welcomed back to the city by thousands of supporters who celebrated just making the final. Nîmes are known as the Crocodiles because the fearsome reptile appears on the city's coat of arms, and they've appeared in Ligue 1 as recently as 2021 but have since slipped into the 3rd tier known as the National. And that is where you will find them for FM24, ready for you to guide them up the divisions back to Ligue 1 and to try and win them that title. But given the dominance of PSG, that could be one of the hardest tasks you've faced in FM24. And if these clubs are getting your FM24 save idea juices flowing, head down to the comment section and let us know which one you're going to manage, or let us know other save ideas videos you'd like to see on the channel soon.